Welcome in to PJ's Coffee, joining you live from Airline Drive. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer alongside Nick Underhill, joining you live on NewOrleans.Football, breaking down this Thursday night matchup. We kind of put together two shows. We usually have a Matchups Friday. That's going to be a little bit of today's show as well as our usual recap. We merged those two together for a jam-packed show today. We're going to talk about everything in this game. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Chris Olave, Ryan Ramczyk, all of it, what we know after today's walkthrough. And both teams right now are sitting at 7-7. Could this be an opportunity for the Saints to get a win in primetime? Sure looks like it, and we're going to get to all of that in today's show.
Sure looks like it. We got optimism coming in here today, coming to you from the Airline Drive. PJs, make sure you check out this location, all the locations in the city. And if you have any medical needs, Toro Hospital, they are our presenting sponsor. If you need a new car, check out my guy, Matt Bowers. He has dealerships all over the Gulf Coast. Best car dealer in the whole universe, United States, whatever you want to call it. He's the best there is, so make sure you go and check him out. And if you need to get relaxed, get a facial, get a massage, whatever it is, Woodhouse Day Spa, great Christmas gift, last-minute shopping. Go grab somebody a coupon. They'll remember it forever, and you can get in and out of there really quick just by, getting the gift card. So let's hit these ads. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Are you looking for the perfect engagement ring? Look no further than Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' new engagement salon. This new area houses a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from in all cuts, sizes, and colors. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect ring to express your love. Visit their new engagement salon today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the perfect ring for the perfect moment and also for the perfect person. 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett Street. 504-866-5433. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Check them out at friendandcompany.com. Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. The holidays are a time for giving, and what better gift than the gift of relaxation? With the gift card to Woodhouse Day Spa, your loved ones can choose from a wide range of services to help them de-stress and rejuvenate. Visit their New Orleans, Metairie, Mandeville, Slidell, and Baton Rouge locations today, or visit their website to purchase a gift card and give the gift of relaxation this holiday season. Woodhouse Day Spa, where relaxation is a gift. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is home to a new engagement salon where they have a fine selection of engagement rings. And while you're there, with it being the holiday season and still celebrating a Saints win, ask them about their fleur-de-lis collection of earrings and necklace that you see here and that I have on now. They are specially priced for our NOF audience. You still got time before Christmas. Ken Friend would love to help you out. Nick had mentioned that, yes, I was showing some optimism at the beginning of the show, but there is reason for it. Now, it comes with some parameters. Our lead topic, can the Saints beat the Rams if they replicate Sunday's game? If they replicate Sunday's game. Seems like a simple question, but let's break it all the way down. Starting with the Rams. The Rams have won games in a lot of different ways this season, as in the passing game, as well as in the run game. Their defense, though, as of late, has been pretty stingy in the run game. In their last 4 wins, they've held teams to under 90 rushing yards. In their last 4 wins, they have held teams to under 90 rushing yards. Matthew Stafford has thrown 13 touchdown passes in his last 5 games and only 2 interceptions. Cooper Kupp and Demarcus Robertson have actually been the 2 guys that Stafford has been going to for scoring touchdowns as of late. The defense, they've got 11 sacks in the last 5 games with wins over the Commanders, Browns, Cardinals, Seahawks. They did lose to the Ravens, but they did take them to overtime, which is impressive given the way the Ravens are playing. All right, let's flip things over to the Saints now. The Saints have won games in a lot of different ways, too. They've been very inconsistent as we've seen this season, but they have won the last 2 over the Giants and the Panthers. Before that, they lost to the Lions, Falcons, and Vikings. Now, Derek Carr, he's going to have to earn every pass play against this defense. But if Cesar Ruiz can win his battles, or at least over 50% of his battles against Aaron Donald, and Chris Olave is potentially back, Saints could have a shot. The Saints are better defensively against a more traditional quarterback. It's a good thing they're taking on Matthew Stafford this week, and they're coming off a monster performance defensively. They are holding teams below 210 passing yards in the last 4 games. It's been hit or miss against the run. Backups in the secondary, though, have stepped up, and if they win those battles on Sunday, because they are going to be tested, could be another favorable matchup for the Saints. Now it's a matter of, can the Saints offense keep pace offensively? So can they win if the defense continues to hold teams out of the end zone, as we've seen in the last 2 games? And if this Saints team is able to score and score early and often, look, both teams, they have 30 sacks each, which was kind of surprising to look up at this point in the season. I figured the Rams, given they have Aaron Donald, they'd have well over 30 sacks at this point in the season. But when you truly look at these things, I mean, the Saints really do have an opportunity. It's just a matter of what Saints team are we going to get this Sunday? Is it going to be the game we just saw, or is it going to be the Texans game, or is it going to be the beginning of the Colts game?
That's the mystery. I mean, look, like I said going into the game, I don't think seeing one game kind of puts you in a situation where you're I don't think it puts you in a situation where you're believing in what you're seeing. You need to see it consistently. So that needs to be something that we're seeing from the Saints every week. So we gotta see them put it together. I don't think one game gives you the belief. I mean, they've been way too inconsistent. This was probably the best game that they've played the whole entire season. But if they're not coming out and doing this week after week, it's hard to buy into it. So it's been too sporadic. It's been too inconsistent. We got to see it again. But I think there's a nice opportunity, and it's going to define their season.
Well, if you look at just some of the stat comparisons, it's like I said, I was surprised when I was breaking down the last 5 games for both of these 2 teams, because truly teams are not what they were in week 1 to week 5 at this point in the season. And that's why it was so surprising to me that, wow, the Saints actually do have an opportunity. Let's look at some of the stats. Points per game, the Saints have 22.1, Rams 23.4. Defensive, as far as how many points the defense is giving up per game, the Saints are giving up 19.1, the Rams 22.1. Passing offense, Saints 231, Rams 235. It's right there. Passing defense, Saints are top 6. They are giving up 185. The Rams, though, this is where I think if Derek Carr can figure it out and this offensive line holds up against Aaron Donald, the Rams are 21st in the NFL in passing defense, giving up 226 yards per game. Rushing offense, the Rams, they get that. They're 121 to the Saints, 103 rushing yards per game. Run defense, Rams are better in that category than the Saints are. But these are looking at the full season of stats. As I mentioned in the beginning, look, there is a lot of wiggle room for the Saints to potentially win this game on Thursday night, which we would not have said had we not saw them dominate the Giants at home on Sunday.
The only way they do it, though, is if they keep the pass rush at bay, and I think that's the whole entire thing. Like, if Carr has everything perfect around him, he can do his job. He can execute. He can throw the ball down the field. He can make plays. But, I mean, that's the whole thing. If they're keeping that clean, he has a chance to do that. But if he's not, I'm not, again, you can't buy into it unless you see it again. And he has not played good in messy situations the whole entire year. He had a perfect situation. It was like training camp. Like, that was what we saw in training camp, was when we were talking about how well he was playing, it was because nobody was rushing the passer. There wasn't any real pressure. He wasn't trying to evade a blitz. He was trying, you're able to sit there and pick your spots down the field and do all that stuff. But if you don't have that and there's a pass rush coming at him, that's when things get bad for him. So this was kind of almost like a simulation of a practice in a game. They aren't ever going to play that clean again. So they got to figure out how to do what they did on Sunday, on Thursday night, when things are a little bit messy, when Aaron Donald's rushing you, when he's coming through the middle of the line, when you actually have a boogeyman to be scared of, and he's going to be there knocking on the door every single time. If you can do that, then you got something to believe in. But it was a step in the right direction. It was something to build on. The defense is something that I think you hold on to. The offensive performance is something that I need to see a little bit.
Yeah, we can see more of it. Look, Derek Carr only threw for 218 passing yards, but there was a lot of positive things we saw. It was just the execution across the board. We saw more of a Drew Brees-esque game as far as finding 10 to 11 different receivers in a game, which is something I think the Saints have missed. Derek Carr, I felt like, was forcing the ball a lot to guys that just weren't open, but you were throwing it to them because it was a Chris Olave, it was a Rashid Shaheed, it was all of that, which we are going to get to Chris Olave in our injury report. But first, let's get to our moment of the day presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. The Saints have addressed the things that they have not done well. They've improved them at least for 1 week. Can they put it together for back-to-back weeks? Some of those areas, the red zone has been great in the last 3 games. Maybe they can put together a 4th game where they're doing well. They finally got to the quarterback this week against the Giants, and they stopped the run. Some of the things that Dennis Allen, I want to point out that he said in his Monday press conference, he said we ran the ball better in the red area. We took advantage of opportunities there. The extra practices in the red zone he feels has helped. Zach Bond being involved in the pass rush has helped out a lot. Tano Passanio working inside helped. They changed some things up with the looks for a 3-man rush. And they're just taking what teams are giving to them. To me, that shows a lot about this team, that in Week 15 they're willing to make changes this late in the season and not just say, hey, this is what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these NFL teams are kind of, this is who we are, and they're not willing to change it. Credit to the Saints, they kind of figured out, at least for 1 week, all 3 of those things, how to correct them.
I mean, look, some of the injuries and stuff I think played to their benefit. Maybe losing JPP played to their benefit because they had to use Zach Bond in some of those situations. Cam Jordan being in a situation where he can't rush the passer on 3rd down pushes you into Zach Bond, so that helps with some of that. Having the injuries on the inside and the ineffectiveness, look, I think getting Tano in there is kind of a big thing for them as well. So, yeah, I mean, out of necessity, I think they found some things. On offense, though, Pete Carmichael, his greatest asset is his ability to just not be married to anything, to have no ego, to be able to look at the situations and say, like, all right, this is the stuff that we need to do, and we're going to do it. And, look, he started to figure some stuff out late in the season that I think is helping.
All right, let's get to the estimated injury report we got today. It was a walkthrough, not a real practice. We actually saw guys out there that didn't even have uniforms on. They were in their sweats. Isaiah Foskey would have been a DNP today. Lonnie Johnson, DNP. Kendre Miller upgraded to limited. Chris Olave upgraded to limited. Ryan Ramczyk was a DNP, which, real quickly, just credit to Landon Young. He only allowed 1 pressure in the game, I think.
No, he allowed 0.
Zero pressures.
James
it was the
only
offensive
one.
line. Yeah, it was the offensive line that allowed 1 pressure. Really, really talented performance. I mean, from Landon Young. Now you're getting the NFL's best this week with Aaron Donald. Him and Cesar Ruiz are going to have a tough battle, but I feel better about Landon Young starting at right tackle based on what we saw against the Giants and against some pretty talented rushers, too, that the Giants have. All right. Cam Jordan was limited. Carl Granderson limited. Peyton Turner limited. What do we know about Chris Olave this week?
Oh, Chris is going to play. I was told that 100% he's going to play this week, so that's going to be potentially good for them. I mean, if he's ready to go, but it was just kind of a little ankle sprain, low ankle sprain, not a big deal. He was close to playing last week, actually. Didn't quite get there, but yeah, the expectation as of today is 100% on the field on Sunday starting.
That's huge. They've got Rashid Shaheed in the mix, Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams has kind of been shaping into form a little bit. Alvin Kamara was kind of doing a lot of the dirty work. We saw Juwan Johnson finally get involved and take advantage of opportunities. Jimmy Graham, they've kind of figured out how they want to use him. Adding Chris Olave to the mix, I mean, you saw what they were able to do without him against the Giants. I think adding Chris this week puts them in a really favorable position with down the fields.
Absolutely. Look, he's their best. He's their best player. So having him on the field, I think, helps a lot. And I think they kind of got away with it a little bit last week. But you're playing a better team.
Yeah.
I think some advantages, though, in this one, if he's out there and he's fully ready to go. But, like, him and Carr's connection had actually been, like, one of the big things that have been working on the offense, and it really clicked in. And I think that's, I think having him on the field is just obviously something that's going to help a lot.
All right, let's get to our key matchups. I mentioned that we were going to be doing kind of our Wednesday and Friday show all in one today. So we've got a few matchups that we need to get to, starting with the Rams pass rush versus the Saints offensive line. Look, LA has a ton of guys who can get after the quarterback, of course led by Aaron Donald, the best interior pass rusher in NFL history. Donald has 6 sacks so far this season. Kind of surprising that he's kind of low on that totem pole there. Defensive tackle Kobe Turner has 5.5 sacks. Defensive end Michael, you're gonna have to help me with that, pronouncing that last name.
Oh, you're on your own there.
He has 5.5 sacks as well, and then Byron Young has 5. But New Orleans offensive line, as we have mentioned, you only allowed 1 pressure as a whole last week. Really, really positive. They've figured something out with Landon Young now at right tackle. I mean, credit to the Saints staff for figuring this out, because if it was week 3 and Ryan Ramczyk went down, I think the Saints would be in a much different position given the way the offensive line was playing at the beginning of the year. They've definitely improved in a lot of categories. But if they slow down Aaron Donald, what does that mean for the game? What does this mean for the outcome of the game?
Well, this one on Aaron Donald, I like the hopes overall, because, I mean, look, there's a bunch of guys with 5 sacks, but that's nobody that's dominating individually. Yeah. So you have one guy that's kind of the monster of that group. It's interesting to me because they always play pretty good against Aaron Donald. He's played 5 games against the Saints throughout his career, and he has 2 sacks in those 5 games, which is an incredible number. I mean, there's a decent amount of pressure overall, but they've always done a good job against him. The difference is, though, is like a handful, most of those games actually, like Drew Brees is a quarterback, and he's getting rid of the ball really quick. So he's helping protect himself a little bit, which kind of kept Donald at bay, and he's able to still be effective when he's rushing that fast to throw the ball. Will Derek Carr be able to do the same thing? Like, that's to be determined. Landon Young did play great in that game. The question is now that, like, somebody has been able to study him for a week and maybe seen, like, he moves his feet when someone sets him up like this, and now you exploit that. Like, are there things to be exploited, and is he going to be taken advantage of? So the more exposure you get as, like, an unknown guy, like, the more your flaws typically come to light because people know what threads to pull. So, again, let's see it again for a second week, but I liked how he played in that game a lot. So there's I don't know. Like, this is a toss-up to me. I could see it kind of going either way. Yeah. And it's really about how Derek Carr handles it when those guys do get through.
This whole game, it's really up to what Saints team are we going to see. Get rid of the inconsistencies and show up and all 22 starters just play the way they did against the Giants, and I think they have a chance. You mentioned
they're beating anybody if they play like that every single week.
You mentioned Aaron Donald having a week to study Landon Young. They're on a short week too, so
that's a good point.
Both teams are on a short week.
That's a good point. Like, the overexposure, like if Landon Young starts the 3rd game, that's probably where you start to see it, because you're right. There isn't a lot of time.
Not a lot of tape on Landon Young either at right tackle. He had one snap, one snap outside of this.
That's an excellent point. That
we'll
kind
hold
of
on to it, though,
a little bit,
because we got that in our question of the day. We'll wait for that one. Moving on to our next matchup, Cooper Kupp, Puka against the Saints secondary. Whew. Like, absolutely, that's got to be top priority. Is number 1, can this backup Isaac Yiadom handle it on his side? Paulson Adebo and Alontae Taylor. Consistency is a big one with Alontae Taylor in this game. All right, the Rams have an outstanding 1-2 punch at wide receiver with Kupp and Puka. Kupp plays a lot of snaps in the slot, 360 inside versus 233 out wide this year. So we'll see how Alontae Taylor handles it. It'll probably be his biggest test. Puka is kind of the breakout star of the NFL season. I honestly, how many receiving yards he has this year, I was shocked looking it up. 5th-round pick that has 1,163 yards so far this season. I mean, that's a huge, huge number. Look, both of the Saints outside corners have been playing well while Marshawn Lattimore has been out, but trying to think back to some of the wide receivers they've played this year, this is probably going to be the toughest challenge with the 3 that are playing really, really well.
Well, you talked to Alontae today just kind of about his matchup with Cooper Kupp, with some of the stuff that he was talking about.
He always sounds the same, like, especially, too, when he sounds like he's getting doubted. You and I kind of talked about it off to the side a little bit, that when somebody is questioning his ability or saying, like, oh, you're going up against, like, big talented wide receiver this week, and he kind of shuts down a little bit. But he's going to be ready for it. The coaches are going to get him ready. Now it's just a matter of, can you handle it? Like, in the flow of a game, are you going to let one big play, let's say he gives up one big play, are you going to let that affect you the rest of the game, or are you going to shake it off and move on? And that's where I've really liked what I've seen from Isaac Yiadom. He's a physical player, but not one that you're going to be worried about penalties being in and out. Paulson Adebo, that's always been a concern with him, but he's limited the penalties this year. It's likely going to come down to Alontae Taylor, and can he just handle the assignment? And he's gotten enough snaps at slot cornerback up to this point. He should be ready for the test, but it is a short week. The guys are healing up. I mean, that's the biggest thing with 4 days of really rest. They're going to get one real practice in tomorrow, and that will probably be a light day, but really tough to get your head wrapped around for this three-headed monster that the Rams have.
Yeah, look, I mean, the thing with Alontae, he wasn't even being like, it's not like questioning his ability. He was like, you're going up against Cooper Kupp.
I know.
What do you like about him?
Yeah. He's viewing it as, what are you trying to ask me?
Like, don't ask me about this, dude. Like,
yeah.
And he voiced respect for Cooper Kupp and everything. But I like it. I like the kind of response. Like, it's a little bit arrogant. It's cocky. Like, you kind of got to be that way as a corner to win some of these matchups. So,
yeah,
we'll see, though. I mean, this is going to be his biggest test of the season, and it's going to probably be the biggest test of the season for a lot of these corners.
A lot of people.
Yeah, like, I was looking at the quarterbacks that Yiadom has played against, and it's Jordan Love, the ones that he played significant snaps against. Like, there were a couple games, a couple snaps, but, like, the ones where he was playing, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Ritter, Bryce Young, and Tommy DeVito. Like, yeah, he's allowed 14 catches on 34 targets for 144 yards with a pick. But, like, he hasn't really – like, Goff is going to be the best quarterback that he's seen the whole entire season, and he's going to be able to take advantage of things if Yiadom isn't quite covering perfectly that maybe a Desmond Ritter wouldn't be able to take advantage of because he's a much better quarterback. So I think there's going to be some factor fiction with these cornerbacks a little bit, and we're going to see if there's anything to be worried about. But that's across the board. Like, Trevor Lawrence is really the only other, like, good test this team has had as a whole. Yiadom didn't play against him, so – it's going to be fascinating to kind of see it. If you're asking me to pick who has the advantage here, I think the Rams probably have a little bit of an advantage.
I would tip the scales in their favor just because you're down arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. You're better with him than you are without him. Now, that's no knock on Isaac Yiadom. As I mentioned, he's handled it well, but he
Lattimore's all-world,
Yeah, but he hasn't played this team yet. All right, moving on to our third and final matchup for the show. Saints run game versus the Rams front seven. LA's run defense ranks in the top half of the league, but allow 110 yards per game. We saw last week that the Saints are at their best when they are efficient on the ground, and really they didn't have to be too efficient. It was just getting the dirty yards to move down the field and things like that. Like, I didn't think the run game was great, but it was good enough for them to get some momentum and move the ball. Credit to Derek Carr. He was able to kind of just dink and dunk his way down the field as well. That was why I think the run game didn't have to do too much. And if the Saints can run well, it will help up open play action, which I think you mentioned against the Giants, was it the most play action this season? Yeah. The Rams have allowed 860 yards against play action this season, so it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to put it together. If you can run the ball well, you got a chance. And the Rams allow it. 100. What would you say? 110 yards per game? I mean, that's a pretty decent number. So I mean, there's opportunity there. And look, the thing with running the ball, though, like, it's just going to be a symptom of playing with a lead. If you're able to run against them, that means you're leading the game. You can kind of take advantage of that a little bit. But they are a much better team when everything is working around Derek Carr. He's just that type of quarterback. He's not – I think too often they've been in games this year where he's had to carry them, where you're asking him to bring them back, where there just isn't a lot of support. There's the offensive line's giving up some stuff. Like, if you can protect him, you can play with the lead, you're running games going, and you put everything around him, and he's not the savior, and he's just a guy kind of helping it go, you're going to get a lot more out of him, and he's going to look a lot better, and you probably aren't going to be booing him. But he's a guy that needs a lot of help. So if you can give him the help, I think that he's good enough to do it. It's kind of like, Cousins. Like, Cousins is the same type of quarterback. If you give him good support, good help, people look at him and be like, wow, this guy's like one of the 10 best guys in the league. If you can play like you did last week, and again, the offensive line is never going to protect like that again, but if you can be something close to that and you can run the ball like that, I think you have a good chance.
It's funny. It's almost like we have cautious optimism, which we did at the beginning of the season. Like, now that we've seen it and we've seen the ability, the talent, they put it all together and they had a really good game plan and it worked in all three phases of the game, I'd love to see it. Saints fans would love to see it again, but it's like, can you put together this? What did it take? It took till week 15, and when we were talking with some of the players in the locker room, I'm like, is it frustrating that it took till week 15, or are you guys almost happy that you finally saw it when all three phases are playing at their best and everybody on the field is handling their assignment? This is how good you can be. Most of them said no, it's not frustrating that it took this long. It's almost like a sigh of relief and, okay, we got this. And it's happening at a time when they really could make a playoff push if they continue to stack these performances. But we'll see if it happens. We're going to take a real quick break, and then we'll be back with much more. We're going to hear from you guys with our question of the day. We're still going to go around the NFC South like we usually would on a Wednesday show. We're bringing that back in. And also, we've got Coach Nick back with the money segment. We'll be right back.
'Tis the season for gumbo combos at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Enjoy our hot gumbo, fries, and your choice of shrimp, catfish, soft-shell crab, or frog legs starting at $9.99. That's right, $9.99 at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
No loan payments for 90 days with local financing from Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union on your next auto, boat, RV, ATV, or motorcycle. That's right, no loan payments for 90 days when you close your loan by December 31st. Jefferson Financial offers easy-to-use online applications, fast decisions, and local personalized service. The financial products you want with the convenience you deserve. We are Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Turo, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Hey, Brad, I got you something I think you're really going to like for your gift this year.
What? Is this one of those Martin's exclusive bourbon bottles?
Picked it out just for you.
Maya, this is awesome. But I think you're going to love the gift I got you a little bit more.
Wow. Mega Wine generic brand vodka. Brad, you shouldn't have.
Not to mention it.
No, Brad, you shouldn't have.
Look, small batch, smooth, soft spice.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance draw, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to the mobile Toro Hospital studio, joining you live from PJ's Coffee on Airline. All right, it's time for our money segment where Nick breaks down the best play of last week. What do you got?
So I went with a pass rush here because I think that was kind of the theme of the last game. It's just kind of, just their ability to do it. They got 7 sacks in the last game, got up to 30 on the season, which actually gives them the same exact number as the Rams. You would like to see that to maybe come a little bit more evenly and not just all lopsided in one game, having 33% of your sack production or whatever it is. So 25%, 25 point, whatever. I'm bad at math, and they always make fun of me whenever I do math on the show, and I know I mess that up again. But we're going with a play here where they blitz, and they haven't blitzed a lot this season. And I really like this one because, again, it showcases this guy right here, Demario Davis, who I think has just been incredible at rushing the passer throughout his career. When they use him as a blitzer, they got away from it a little bit this year. They got away from it a little bit in previous years after Caden Ellis kind of emerged, but they're back to it. And he has been kind of key to the pass rush being so good the last couple of weeks. But what we're going to see here is you got him coming, you got him coming, you got him coming, you got him coming, and then you got Adebo blitzing off the edge. And then late in the play, Demario is going to go on a delayed blitz, and it's just going to work to perfection. But we'll get to the next slide here, and you can kind of see it. There's everybody going. Bang, and then you got Demario just kind of chilling. They're on the play action. They're watching it. Him and Werner kind of got their eyes to the backfield. And you got this right here is key. We're going to see it better, I believe, on the next slide. Let's jump to the next one right here. So you kind of got chaos right here. Shepard breaks through. Justin Pugh is looking at him. He knows he's in bad shape. You got the play action happening back there, and you got DeMario. You can just see him. He's watching this happen right here, and you see the break. And he's been underrated this year a little bit, Nathan Shepard. He's made some plays happen. Isn't necessarily always the guy finishing, but if you go back and watch a lot of sacks, there's a lot of plays where he's in there kind of causing the initial chaos, and then somebody cleans it up a little bit behind him. So Pugh turns his back to try to catch up here. He knows he got smoked, missed his assignment, has his back to the action. DeMario sees his back turned, and just off he goes. You just see it. Like, there's nobody there. He's got free pass all the way into the backfield because Shepard is kind of wrecking things a little bit. So next slide, DeMario gets the sack, brings him down, and that's really it. But they did a good job in this game of mixing up their blitz and just kind of using their four-man front. And let me move back to the first slide again. A lot of times on these third downs, like, they've just had, like, this would be a safety or a linebacker or somebody else, and he'd be dropping, and you just kind of have these guys up here, and you'd be showing, like, six. Like, that's kind of what they would do in a lot of these situations. They just kind of have six guys bunched up at the line, and the quarterback would have to kind of guess who's dropping, who's going, and they just send three. But if you're sending three, you do the math, you got 3 on 5. So, like, you're running into a double, and you're, like, hoping somebody wins a one-on-one to get your pressure. And they were just kind of, like, really ineffective at it. And every now and then they would bring a fourth guy off a blitz. So you kind of get those numbers. But when they're rushing 4 straight up, you're kind of getting, like, a better rush lane. And then you bring some extra heat and you get in there. And that's just really been something that they used to do. And they were really good at it for a long time. And it's hard to criticize their approach because, like, you look from, like, 2016 on, the blitz numbers just drop every single year. They drop just a little bit every single year. Last year, I think they had 137 blitzes overall. This year, they're at, I believe, 138. So you're already up a little bit. Whatever the number actually is, they're up 1 on last year's total. I think it's 137 to 138. So they are blitzing a little bit more, and they are getting a little bit more effective at it, and that's been a key to the last 2 weeks.
It's been impressive. And just watching film back and seeing just how effective somebody like DeMario Davis was in that game and how he can really change a game. I feel like, man, you know what I just thought of? How often did we used to talk about the juice the defense would bring? And that was like the Quan Alexander, the Joyce boys. I know. And it showed. He's laughing, but it showed when DeMario Davis was playing at his best and was just like this ferocious, all-around-the-field type linebacker. Everybody on defense fed off of it. Say what you want. It's the NFL. It's not college football. Like, no. Like, even guys in the NFL level, like, when you have a couple of guys on the defense eating, it affects everybody around them. And when I feel like the linebackers, to be honest, are like the power source of a defense. And when Pete Werner and DeMario Davis are in unison and they're all over their when DeMario Davis is able to blitz and gets pressure on the quarterback, that's when you know this defense is playing at its best.
Well, I mean, they should just be using him like that, too, because they don't have good pressure players this year. Yeah, he's your best pressure player.
Cam even told us, he's like, he was joking, but he was like, I really can't even come up around the edge right now because of the ankle injury. That's why he's on first and second down. He goes, that's fine. I'll come off the field and let my guys eat on third and fourth down. But Cam is limited in what he is able to do. Let these other guys, I mean, Tano Passigno, it's about time he broke through. I mean, the guy's massive. I've been waiting to see this guy use his size. I think the other guys in the locker room have too. But, man, DeMario Davis, play like that the next 3 games. This team, I would assume they're in the playoffs if this defense plays like it did the last 2 games. Because if they played like they did the last 2 games, nobody has scored on them. It's just been field goals.
That's the thing. If they get back to playing like they did early in the season, which we saw last week, and this is a consistent thing, you can be kind of bad on offense and find ways to win games. We saw it week 1 and 2, like just when they were, and then even the few games after that, they were giving them a chance, and then something happened with the defense, and it kind of broke a little bit. And if they can put it back together, and that was real, and you aren't starting off games slow, and you're prepared, and you have some pass rush going, you can win games like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, DeMario's someone that needs to be key to that and just kind of feature him within the scheme. Like, find ways to get him going in the pass rush, find ways to get him making plays, because he is probably your best player. And especially with Look, I don't think Cam's had that type of season even before the injury, but with him down, like, it's even more important for DeMario to kind of be that guy. So, yeah, just find ways to use him, scheme up your pass rush, use him in it, because he is your best pass rusher probably.
And Zach Bond being used in the way he has, the Saints have figured something out with that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, he hasn't necessarily been the guy making the play, but he's the guy starting a lot of plays.
Yeah.
And, there were a few plays last week, a couple sacks. I believe he was the first guy, and he kind of like squeezed the pocket a little bit, got the quarterback stepping up, and then somebody cleans it up. So I like that. I like the role he's in. You're getting something out of him. It's a third-round pick that was kind of, just a Sam linebacker, and a Sam linebacker in 2023 isn't going to make a lot of impact. He's not going to play a lot. So you're getting something out of him now, which is good. You're getting value out of a player. So find a way to make your scheme fit your players, even if you don't have the players who fit the scheme. So, like, you gotta figure out how to make the most of the talent.
Yeah.
And I think they've been doing that the last couple of weeks.
They're going to have to figure it out on a short week, which gets to our Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. All right, the question is, what concerns you during this short week, or are there any concerns? For me, let's just do some housekeeping, because we haven't had a show since we learned that the practice window will open this week for Michael Thomas and Marshawn Lattimore, but it is not opening. Like, it could open this week if they were ready. And Dennis Allen said that will not open at least this week because they are not ready to return. He didn't give a timeline on rehab or anything like that. They could potentially return if they were able to and healthy, but they are not yet. And so they are not going to be practicing this week. You will not see them on the injury report. We do not have an update on when they'll return. We also do not have an update on Marcus May as well. We don't have we don't have a definitive date.
I have tentative dates, and it's all end of it's last week of the season. I think if May gets healthy enough,
and we've said that on the show. The goal is end of season.
Yeah, if Mike gets healthy, it would be the last week of the season. Marshawn, I don't know. I don't know if we'll see him again this year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll continue to be looking for them at practice. We are kind of eyeing down practice every time we go out there to see if we see 13, 6, or 23. But haven't seen them yet. They are not going to see them this week, not on the short week. I don't think we're going to see Peyton Turner either in LA. But what are the concerns in a short week when you are taking on a team that is also 7-7, is also trying to get to the playoffs?
Yeah, and on Peyton Turner, I asked him again today if there's any updated timeline, and he said if he's able to come back, it would probably be last week of the season. So that's kind of like when the Calvary's coming. And look, I think a lot of it depends on team success. But concerns this week, I don't know that I really have any. It's just kind of more of the continuation of what we've been seeing. It was Olave before we heard that Olave is expected to play. So assuming everything goes well tomorrow and that continues into Thursday night, I'm feeling better about that situation. It's just my concern is the factor fiction. But I think you brought up an excellent point. Like, a few of the things that I was concerned about were like Landon Young getting exposed, Ike getting exposed. Short week, there's not as much time to prepare for that. Now, they've been looking at Ike Yadam, and there were probably people working ahead on this game for the Rams, just like there were for the Saints. So with Ike, there's enough tape that if, maybe there's a few things that someone like, Stafford can take advantage of. Landon Young, there isn't enough. Like, you just kind of got this short exposure. So I'm sure if there's a few things they can key in on him, but it isn't going to be like a whole dissection a week of it. Like he drops his foot like this on when you start a swim move with your left hand, and you can counter it like that. Like, there's just things you're probably not going to be able to get to. So I like that for him. If Ramczyk is unable to play, DMP 2 days in a row, DMP in a walkthrough is not a good sign. Yeah. I kind of think we're going to see Landon Young again in this game.
Yeah, I haven't seen Ryan Ramczyk anywhere in the building either, too, which is usually, if we don't see them, that's usually it leans toward not seeing them on the playing field. One last thing about Aaron Donald, because people are going to talk about, preparing for him in the short week. You give the Saints 15 weeks to prepare for Aaron Donald, and he's still going to probably win 50% of the snaps. He's that efficient. He's so quick. We were talking with Cam Irving today, and he gave us a little bit of insight on playing against him, that because he is shorter, your leverage point is even harder. Like, you've got to get to his point, and you just think about that as an offensive lineman. Usually size would be your benefit. No, it's hit for Aaron Donald, his hands being at 5'10", and he runs a 4.6 40.
Yeah,
that's
fast,
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, again, people are going to say, oh, it's a short week, Aaron Donald. No, regardless, Aaron Donald is going to do Aaron Donald things on Thursday night, just like he would on Sunday.
Well, short week, I think
Yeah.
I think it benefits him because it comes down to talent versus talent, and
Yeah.
most times he's going to be the most talented guy. And like you said, low man wins. I mean, he's fast, he's explosive. So really, it's just going to come down to, can you block him? And the Saints are going to try to double him, and they're going to try to do all this stuff. Yeah. So you just have to be effective in this game. So yeah, that's one thing. Obviously, that's a concern. Short week or long week, though. Either way, you got to block Aaron Donald somehow.
I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said slow down the losing battle. Like you're going to lose, just make sure it's
fast.
slow.
Yeah.
Don't lose.
Don't
lose fast. He goes because that's just how good Aaron Donald is. All right, let's go around the NFC South, starting with the Panthers. They are 2-12. They come off a win over the Falcons, which helped the Saints out. Now the Saints are tied for first in the NFC South with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And I loved this quote from Derek Brown on beating the Falcons. He said, "The Falcons are going on vacation just like we are." And with the Panthers taking on the Bucks still this season, if the Panthers have that mindset against the Bucks and beat the Bucks, I mean, that does favors for the Saints in getting that title,
like
potentially.
It puts them on the path. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, here's the thing: they can't win a tiebreaker with them, so you got to win it outright. So any favors they can get involving the Bucks, like, please and thank you.
Yeah, and we thought the Falcons at one point were in a better spot than the Saints. That is absolutely not the case. They are still trying to figure out who their starting quarterback is. The Falcons are 6-8 right now. Again, still haven't decided who's starting at quarterback. It's either Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder, and it's either going into Week 16. Still haven't figured it out. One of the quotes that he said is, Arthur Smith said, "We aren't where we want to be. We've lost some close games, but it's not over, and we will die trying to make sure we get this right and go win this game and see what happens." I don't like when a coach ends a quote saying, "We'll see what happens."
Well,
that doesn't sound like a confident answer.
Well, Arthur shouldn't be confident. He's about to lose his job. I mean, there's no way they keep him. Losing to the Panthers is kind of a death blow, and I'm surprised. I kind of thought we were going to wake up Monday and it was going to happen. I thought Terry Fontenot would fire him quickly to try to get ahead of it, because I think Terry probably needs to think about his job
future.
security and safety. So you kind of get rid of someone to buy yourself more time. That kind of maybe hints towards blank, maybe not allowing it to happen. So it could be a duo move after the season. We'll see. It wouldn't be a shock in that regard. But here's the thing for the Falcons. They have no quarterbacks right now. People in Louisiana might want to maybe take a deep breath and maybe think about what it might feel like if the Heisman winner ends up in Atlanta, because I think that's probably a fit, and that's probably something that they're going to try to need to do.
I'm like letting that soak in for a minute because I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Look, it's not in anybody's best interest to go there because we've seen what they just haven't managed quarterbacks very well since Matt Ryan has been there. And the end of his tenure, Matt Ryan probably should have retired a Falcon. Like, that's just how I felt it should have been. And whew. All right, moving on to the Bucks. They are also 7-7. They just beat the Packers on the road 34-20, but it was an impressive win. Let's get to some of Baker Mayfield's stats. He joins only Aaron Rodgers as one of two quarterbacks, including himself, to ever record a perfect 158.3 passer rating at Lambeau Field.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. What do you have, 381? Yeah, no, he played a great game.
So he became just the third player with at least 375 passing yards, 4 touchdown passes, and, of course, that passer rating in a road game in NFL history. Now, Devin White did not play in that game. We're still kind of hearing both sides. There's been multiple reports of, like, him being a healthy scratch. Does he want more money, contracts, all that. Nothing's definitive yet, but if Devin White doesn't play when the Bucks take on the Saints, that's a win for the Saints right there, because he has just been so disruptive against their run game and really has. And I would just think back to the playoff game. He took Alvin Kamara completely out of that game.
Yeah, no doubt. And they got the Jags this week, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a big game. If they drop it, I mean, that would set the Saints up in a much better situation, because then they win next week, and you probably got the division, and that puts you on the path to do it, assuming you win Thursday night. So there's still a lot of work to get done, but look, Baker, I think that's best case scenario for kind of just trying to get the fill-in quarterback. He's been great this year, and he continues to be great. And I was kind of waiting for it to kind of fade away after a hot start.
No, it's only gotten better.
Yeah, and he's sustaining. So, I mean, it's been a great outcome for them.
And the Saints need to now see that with their quarterback, Derek Carr. They need to see him ascend this week. And to solidify, too, that they made the right choice. Look, if he strings together back a win like he did against the Giants. If he's able to do that against the Rams and then finish out the season continuing to ascend, I mean, I don't want to say all is forgiven, but it's going to be easier for Saints to forget some of the woes that they went through with Derek Carr at the beginning of the season.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, as long as you land the
yeah.
It's not how you start, it's how you end, you know. So
absolutely.
I mean, like if they
December football.
If they hit the landing, yeah, it's great shape.
All right, up next, the Packers are at the Panthers, the Colts are at the Falcons, the Jags are at the Bucks. Before we get out of here, let's get to our fantasy segment presented by the Louisiana Lottery. Is Juwan Johnson a viable fantasy option moving forward, or will Saints tight end usage remain sporadic? I think it better remain sporadic because I think that's how they win this game if you use Foster, Jimmy, and Juwan in the way that you did against the Giants.
Consistently sporadic though, like you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, like if they're all doing
connect passes,
like how they did it last week. If it looks like that, that's great. That means Juwan probably isn't a viable fantasy option because, look, I don't know that he's going to get the end zone targets to be like a fantasy option. I think that's probably going to be. It should be Jimmy Graham. So you should be using like Juwan from 0 to 20, and then Jimmy 20 to 0, and that's how it probably should look. Sprinkle in some Foster. You got to lean on them guys a little bit, though, and I think they're at their best if you're getting everything out of that full complement of tight ends.
Yeah, all right. A game is Thursday. We're traveling tomorrow, so we're going to give our game predictions now.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear yours.
I'm so just in the middle and such a toss-up, and I know people would rather a definitive answer, but if the Saints remain consistent, I could really see them coming down to the wire and beating the Rams. I think it would be really, really close, but you have to see the performance you saw against the Giants. And I think that's it being a close game. Like, I don't think the Saints defeat the Rams in a spectacular way if they play like they did against the Giants. I still think it's going to be a tough matchup no matter what. These are both two teams that are fighting for a playoff spot and fighting to keep their season alive. And you look at some of the Rams' talent, you're just like, when you've seen what the Saints have done this year, if you take away this Giants game, I would say the Saints lose to the Rams. But the Saints have now given me hope. It's cautious optimism, but if the Saints play like they did against the Giants, I think the Saints have a good opportunity to win.
All right. I'm going to stare it down because they call me Negative Nick in the comments all the time. God. And I am not negative. I am scared. I am scared of the optimism because every time I've believed in them the last 2 years, they have just made me look incredibly stupid the next week. So I'm not being negative. I'm gun shy. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to say, like, I believe in what I'm seeing, and I have not seen enough to believe in it. So for that reason, I'm picking the Rams. But like,
you're about to hit like a for that reason I'm out, like from the Shark Tank show. I was like, dang, all that build up just for that.
I will be a customer of your product, but I am not investing. It is not for me. I'm out. No, but for real though, like, yeah, I mean, I'm just scared. Like it's I've been fooled by it too many times, and I bought in too many times, and I've been made to look stupid for buying into it. Yep. So like, I'm picking the Rams, but I definitely think that it's a winnable game. I think I've believed in the talent kind of all year long. I think I overhyped the talent a little bit at some point, but like, I still think there's too much talent for them to be bad. I think they can beat the Rams. I think they can beat the Bucks. I think they can beat the Falcons, and I think they should win 2 out of the 3. And I think if you win 2 out of the 3, you make the playoffs. If you don't win 2 out of the 3, you should get rid of everybody. So I still believe in all that. They kind of got me back a little bit with the Giants.
Yeah.
If we were talking privately, I'd probably be like, I think they could win this game. But like, while we're sitting here, I'm not going to do it.
Look, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, I want to get a temperature heat check on the fan base. Throw it in here. Who do you think's winning this game? I really want to see the comments. Well, I will address them in the pregame show. I'm going to watch them now as we have just one final topic. Can the Saints be consistent? And the reason why I asked that question, I'm just going to go back up to the top where I know I kind of word vomited at the beginning of the show, but there really are.
No, that was fire. That was not word vomit.
I mean, but there is an argument to be made that the Saints have an opportunity to win this game based on how, if you're just looking at the last 5 games the Rams have played and the Saints have played, it's out there. You go watch the film, look at the stats. There's an opportunity for the Saints to win this game. I'm not saying win it outright, but to compete against the Rams, you are going on the road. Look, and it's not like it's some hostile environment. LA hasn't taken over as far as it's not Seattle, right? So it's not the Dome. So you're not going to get this crazy fan base that you're going to have to listen to. But you've got Matthew Stafford, traditional quarterback. That's the big one. The Saints have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford is somebody who is not just going to tear off a 40-yard run. At least I don't think so. Now, if he has one in this game, don't hold it against me.
No,
but
that's an outstanding
they're
point.
stopping the run in the last 4 games. That's a concern for the Saints. The 2 guys you have to be concerned with, I know Puka's a problem, but it's been Cooper Kupp and DeMarcus Robertson that have been the guys that Matthew Stafford has looked for touchdowns. And there's been 11 sacks in the last 5 games. They do have impressive wins. The one loss was to a good Ravens team. But the Saints, I mean, you figured out right tackle, which is to me, that's like the biggest hurdle of all time, is that they figured out something in Landon Young, and he's playing well enough that that's a fix right now. Like, that's a good, strong Band-Aid at the right side of the offensive line. Cesar Ruiz, can he overcome this battle of Aaron Donald, which it's going to be every single snap. How are they going to look? Derek Carr, I'd like to see more than 218 passing yards, but with him being so efficient, 89% of his passes, it's great. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Chris Olave's back, so you're adding another deep threat. I'd like to see them use Rashid Shaheed a little bit more. So there were some things, too, that I feel like Pete Carmichael can maybe get into his bag a little bit if he's willing to. If he's willing to continue to be creative with the play calling, the Saints could have an opportunity to really put something together.
No, that's excellent analysis. Yeah. It really is.
Oh, man, we got people all over the place as far as – I was waiting to let the chat load up to see how everybody felt. All right, somebody said Saints and Bucks lose this week. Saints bought in. I think Saints are about to get boat raced. Okay. I'm not sure 50-50, kind of where we sit. Saints win if they stand on business like the Giants. He must have been listening to me in the press box. Said that at some point during the first quarter.
Yeah. They're standing on business.
Rams in a close one. Yeah.
But
Matthew Stafford can't handle that pressure. I don't know. Matthew Stafford's a vet, and that arm strength, as Joe Wood said today, is still very much there as it was back when he used to work with Matthew Stafford, but they were in the same building. But
yeah, no, I think your analysis was excellent. And like, honestly, the thing is like, yeah, you'd like to see more than 218 from Carr, but I think less Carr is better. Like if you can win a game where he's throwing for 220, like you look at Denver, they've kind of reeled in Russ all the way. He's averaging about 200 yards per game. When they're at their best, like Russ is able to throw for 200 and everything kind of supports him. And that was the idea for Carr.
Yeah.
That's why they went out and they drafted Kendra and they went out and got Jamal Williams, because it was supposed to be a situation where those guys kind of handled everything, and then Carr would be able to sit back and kind of be a complementary piece to everything else, and not necessarily like the main ingredient and the spice. Like you got to have like, a little bit of everything with him. So yeah, I agree. And, I think just across the board, you hit all the points. So, I mean, you covered it for real. Like I think they have a chance, but
they have a chance. And we're going to end the show with this. We'll believe it when we see it.
Absolutely.
Consistency is key. Pete Carmichael, don't regress. Keep ascending with the play calling.
I'm
kind of
scared to see
Derek
what happens.
Carr, keep ascending.
I'm scared of this game.
If it's bad, it's real bad.
Yeah, I'm scared to see what happens.
If it's bad, it's real bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's like going to be. If it's bad, it's real bad. That is all I will say.
So it's either black or white. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah.
And we will be live in LA for our pregame show. We will be on the field, of course, giving you guys as much analysis as we can as players roll out. We're going to be giving you guys the inactives, things like that. For the first 10 to 15 minutes, of course, we will be public on our YouTube chat. And then, of course, we will move over to our members only, where you guys start throwing in your questions. Nick is going to post something to the website soon, and we will see you guys in LA.